For those of you who are regular viewers and listeners to Financial Perspectives, you've already noticed that we have a new face and voice over the last 6 months. Gretchen Muller joined Foster Group as our Director of Communications last fall. She brings a wealth of experience to the role as an investment professional, but also as an educator and a communicator. She's a perfect fit and will be taking the lead role in helping to communicate Foster Group's thoughts on markets, financial planning, and investment perspectives. So Gretchen, welcome.
Thank you.
Let's find out a little bit about you. Why don't we start with just some personal background? I know you're an Iowa native, so tell us how you got here.
Yeah, I mean, to set the record straight, I was born in Wisconsin.
Okay.
And I know. And then spent a little bit of time early in my years in Wisconsin and Michigan and a little short stint in New York. My dad was in medical sales.
Okay.
And then in the early 80s, we moved back to Iowa and down the road from my grandparents who lived on the family farm. It was a great place to grow up. I mean, it was a town where everything revolved around the school and the kids were all involved in everything. And so just very well-rounded. And it was a great childhood. And from there, I went on to undergrad. And
where at?
I went to Central College in Iowa and had an opportunity there to study abroad. I think that was a highlight. And as I think about my childhood or through undergrad, like that was just a highlight of my life because it exposed me to a much bigger world.
Yeah, get you out of the space a little bit and go, oh, everybody doesn't look like Iowa or the Midwest.
Yeah. And I have a daughter going this year abroad, so it feels full circle, and I hope she has the same incredible experience I had.
That's fantastic. So you have one daughter. What else? A little bit about your family.
Yeah. My husband and I were blessed with 3 children. So we have one daughter in grad school, one daughter in undergrad, and then a son that's in high school. And I think what we're enjoying most is that they're kind of figuring out who they are and, they're learning from their mistakes, but we're celebrating their successes too. And it's a really rewarding time to be a parent. Yeah. So,
well, it's fun. We'll talk about this in a little bit. This is kind of a new venture for you as well. But I know you've had a lot of experience in the investment world. So coming out of college and then going to work in the investment space, kind of tell us a little bit about your professional experience before here.
Yeah, I came into the industry at a really interesting time. So it was 1998, kind of that pre-millennial. A lot of people were getting hired, a lot of opportunity as far as employment was concerned. So to go into asset management at that point with principal on their international equity team was a very interesting time. Long-term capital management occurred in that first year, and then we had the dot-com bubble in 1999.
Yeah. You were talking about on New Year's Eve or going into the year 2000, people were wondering, well, are the computers actually going to fail? I can remember where I was, waiting to see, because I was working in a bank trust department at the time, and the thought was, if these things don't work, we're all going to be called into the bank.
Right.
To make sure, we have to reset the system somehow.
Well, the lights stayed on,
yes,
right? And then there was a big unwinding, right, that got reflected in the markets too. And so for the first 3 years, I was really in a learning role. It was a role that was preparing me to be a future analyst. And so while I was contributing and helping out with some of the research efforts and doing some things behind the scenes, I really just had the opportunity to observe some really bright minds as they managed the portfolio and researched companies all across the globe. Yeah. And so I tried to just learn as much as I could.
Yeah, that's a great experience. Oftentimes you go to college, we have information, but we really don't know how to do the work. I have to learn by doing a little bit. So being around the people who are doing it sound like they gave you a lot of responsibility then on, beyond the learning, now it's time to the doing. So tell us about the doing of an analyst. What does that look like?
Yeah, eventually I was given the opportunity to cover international consumer. So that's discretionary and staples. And I was thrilled to have that space because it's a really fun space. There's a lot of companies that people can relate to, a lot of products, whether it's the autos or, Nestle or L'Oreal or luxury Louis Vuitton. I mean, just a very fun space to cover. And I enjoyed every day getting into work and figuring out what's going on today. What are the new developments? How do I incorporate that into my process and my decision? And so it was great. It was a really, really fun career.
So lots of details around individual companies, and then you're talking about these individual companies, the way I understand, the actual portfolio managers, people who are going to make the decision as to what to buy and sell on that day. Tell us a little bit how that works. I think it's just interesting because, we tend to take a kind of a big picture asset allocation regional view, and you've had the opportunity to work right in the kind of the the bottom up level of looking at the individual stocks and companies and how they get into a mutual fund portfolio, for example.
Yeah, in an active management fund, I mean, there's a whole team of people that are, daily coming in and justifying what's owned or looking at what's not owned and should we be replacing that. And it's very detailed work and, in spreadsheets and in financial statements and challenging assumptions and a lot of healthy debate within the team because everyone is incentivized to outperform the index consistently. And it's not easy work, right? I mean, it's humbling work. You take your first piece of humble pie as an analyst when you walk in and the stock's down 15%, right? And you have to have a bit of a short memory. And you learn how to make decisions with imperfect information. And you have to kind of figure out how much work do I need to do to make the decision. And then what beyond that is just comfort work, because that is not efficient, right? You need to move on to the next idea. And so those are skills that I learned through that process.
Interesting. So along the way, I know you actually had a chance to teach again at the university level, and then even within the principal role, you started to get some opportunities with the marketing and actual communication. So your career kind of grew a little bit. What did you like about the teaching or the marketing aspects of things? Yeah,
I had the opportunity to be an adjunct at a couple of different private colleges teaching finance and investments. And it was fun because I was able to bring the examples that I was working on throughout the day to the classroom. And I really hope that the students benefited from that. It was those consumer staples and discretionary companies that I was mentioning. And so the products were very relatable for the students and made good examples for financial theory and concepts. And so I did that for a few semesters at a few different places. And then I also got into the marketing efforts at Principal on the funds. And that really came about because of a colleague of mine that saw something in me, and she gave me the nudge that, Gretchen, I think you should explore this. And I'm so thankful she did. She knows that I'm thankful she did because I ended up having a real passion for that. I really enjoyed sitting across from the clients or prospective clients and seeing the people and the faces behind the work that I was doing at my desk. Yeah. It just gave it a lot more meaning.
Yeah. Well, that's great because it really relates to how you got to Foster Group. I mean, the role of a portfolio analyst, and now here you are taking this role as director of communications. What do you think at this stage of your career kind of drew you from one place to this place, and this role in particular?
Yeah, it took a little bit of a time for this to evolve. The conversation started a while ago, and it really had to be the right time for me and the right time for Foster Group. Yeah. And so I'm really thankful that they did come together. What attracted me to the role is that I think it allows me to use the parts of my other job that I enjoyed the most. So whether it's the learning or the communication or just engaging with people more frequently. Most mornings here I come in and start with a cup of coffee and get up to speed on what's going on with the markets because we need to know that for our clients, right? And in order to provide good advice and good service. And so that, I think those are really the main kind of components.
Well, as you've been here 6 months now or so, I know one of the things you've been doing is sitting in meetings with our advisors and clients. So as you've listened to those conversations, what kind of things are you taking away?
First of all, I'm just so inspired by the clients that we have. I am really inspired by the fact that they committed to a plan and now they're seeing the benefit of that plan if they're in retirement. I often find myself thinking about, every day that they got up and went to work as part of a commitment to the plan. And then as they retire, they're seeing the benefit of that and they get to choose whether or not they want to travel or they want to make memories with their families or they want to donate to charities. And so I absolutely love that part of it. I also enjoy seeing our advisors at work and see them practicing their craft. I have a real appreciation for how much knowledge they have. This is another side of the industry that I don't know that much about. As I mentioned, I worked on the asset management side, and now this is private wealth. And so as a learner, I'm really challenged to ramp my expertise on that side as I evolve in this role.
Yeah. Well, this is a new role in the company, Director of Communications for Foster Group. You've had some experience here. You've been here for 6 months, seen what we do. What's your vision for the role? As you create it, what do you think is going to be important?
looking at what's going on here, it's a very exciting time to be at Foster Group because it's growing, right? We've got almost 100 employees, and I think there is just a need to make sure we all stayed connected and can deliver the same level of service that's been delivered in the past. And so I think the director of communications can really be that bridge between advisory and marketing and investments to make sure we're all on the same page and delivering that high level of service. I also think the role can put a spotlight on some of the in-house expertise that we have. We have incredible people here, and I'm really thankful to work with all of the people that work here. And I really want to be able to elevate those voices through this role. And so that's my hope and my goal.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Communication just has continued to become more and more important. I mean, one of the things in a number of books that I remember reading, one of the authors would say, you cannot over-communicate. Which is interesting because it is possible to talk too much. But in the idea of there are certain messages that are just important that people get to hear all the time.
Yeah.
And hopefully that'll be part of what your role is.
And sometimes the markets are complex, right? And so taking those complex things and putting them in terms that are understandable. I mean, I did that with teaching. I did that with marketing in my past role. And so my goal here too is to help break down complex things and make them understandable, right?
Yeah, that is so good. So good. Well, we're really glad you're here.
Thank you.
We're looking forward to seeing what you're going to do in these roles and how you're going to bring these things together. So thank you for being here.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, well, one of the reasons we started looking carefully for someone like Gretchen was because the growth of the firm and the growing importance of communicating to everyone. There's another change happening later this year as well. At the end of 2026, I'll be retiring from Foster Group in my role as the host of Financial Perspectives. We started Foster Group's Financial Perspectives almost 6 years ago to the day, out of necessity, from my new basement home office. You can all remember your first home office. In March of 2020, COVID-19 brought an unprecedented kind of uncertainty and lifestyle changes to the world. And at Foster Group, we knew that our clients, our friends, and our family, people we cared about deeply, would be wondering what we thought about the ongoing crisis and if there was anything they should be doing in light of it. So in those early months, I got well acquainted with the Johns Hopkins website on virus spread and many other new websites to me. We tried to have something realistic and hopeful to share every week about the long-term resiliency of markets, of human capacity to solve problems, and about how even in the midst of crisis, choosing an educated and rational optimism, well, that was the positive alternative to the anxious uncertainty that we were all feeling. We have produced over 150 episodes of Financial Perspectives in these last 6 years, and I can share that I and the team at Foster Group have come to believe that the message of educated optimism is more important than ever. As you can see after meeting Gretchen, our commitment to good communication is just increasing. I've learned a lot by necessity in these last 6 years, and I appreciate all the positive feedback and the great questions that have come from you along the way. So thanks for your encouragement and trust. I'm confident that you'll find Financial Perspectives an even better source of helpful ideas about achieving your financial goals, as well as educated optimism in the future under Gretchen's leadership. So as always, if you have any questions or suggestions, please let us know through our website, fostergrp.com. Thanks so much.